All right, so today we're going to take a look at a toy line from an infamous short-lived cartoon from 1986. This is, well, these are the Inhumanoids. If you've seen the show, then you know why it was panned by a lot of parents back in the 80s. If you haven't seen the show, but you're interested in pop culture from that time, I suggest looking it up and giving it a watch. I think it might be on YouTube, I'm not sure. I had no idea the show existed when I was a kid, but some of the toys did manage to make their way into my household. I guess it's just sort of anonymous gifts at birthdays or Christmas or something like that. So if you've watched my Misfit Toys videos, the Inhumanoids toys, a couple of them, very much were Misfit toys to me. So first we'll take a closer look at the three big bad guys from Inhumanoids. First we have Decompose. And you take one look at the design of this and you know why 80s parents were appalled by this. The detail on Decompose is pretty impressive and obviously a little disturbing. It's got a lot of torn open connective tissues and bones sticking out of him. One strand of hair. Disturbing. There are two levers on the back of him. When you pinch them together, it opens up his rib cage. So you can do this with some of the figures. Demented. And also just a cool side note, Decompose on the TV show was voiced by Frank Welker. So he's Starscream, he's Cobra Commander, and this thing. Next up we have Tendril, who's got, well actually they all have light piping in the head, but he's got a lot of it that actually sort of works. All three of the bad guys are big figures. I think they're all about 14 inches, but Tendril is the biggest. And he's also the most stable. These guys have a tendency to fall over. He's sturdy. And lastly, we have the leader of the Inhumanoids. This is Metlar, who is really tough to find with the headpiece not broken. So I'm very happy with mine. So those are the three bad guys that cause all the mayhem in the cartoon. All those other ugly creatures that I had set up at the beginning of the video, they're actually all good guys. We'll go through all of them next. Wow, I really did make a pretty bad mistake. You're right. My apologies about that. Christopher Collins was Starscream, Cobra Commander, and Decompose. That is not a mistake I should have made. Thank you for pointing that out. Sorry. Back for part 2 of the Inhumanoids. Unlike the egregious mistake I made yesterday about saying that Frank Welker voiced Decompose, it was actually Chris Collins. Everybody here are good guys from the Inhumanoids show. We have our team of 4 scientist heroes that make up the Earth Corps, and a bunch of figures we'll go through back here that are allies to the good guys. We'll start with the leader of Earth Corps. This is Herc Armstrong, aka Hooker, because of that. The proportions on these guys are ridiculous, but kind of iconic at this point. Articulation, they're all just 5 points of articulation. We have Derek Bright, aka Digger. I am missing his helmet, unfortunately. We have Dr. Edward Ottiger, aka Augur. This is one of my Misfit toys. Somebody got him for me when I was a kid. I had no idea what he went to, but got a lot of hours of play out of him. And obviously, just by the design of him, he was always a bad guy. Lastly, we have Dr. Jonathan Slattery, aka Liquidator, missing his helmet as well. His suit reminds me of the good bad movie Deep Star 6. And I do have one of the Earth Corps' vehicles. I think they put out 2. This one's called the Terra Scout, excuse me. This flips up and down. Non-working treads, but wheels underneath. And then we have all these guys that were ancient enemies of the Inhumanoids. This guy is a Redland Mutor, is what they call them. Kind of a terrifying tree. And we have these guys. We have the Granites, and I think this is called a Granok Mutor. Both of these guys I had as a kid, also toys I had no idea what they went to, but loved having them. And their limbs are connected with like a very bendy rubber, and these slits I think are because this thing is meant to transform into like a boulder or a rock, kind of like a rock lord, but I could never figure out how. And lastly, we have Magnacore, who I also had as a kid, and he in the show split into two guys, I think, and he is like the hardened lava and molten lava. Good guy again somehow. So here's the whole gang together, at least what I have of the Inhumanoids line. Reading through everybody's comments from part 1, I was really happy to see how many people either were fans of this toy line and or show, as well as a lot of people who gave me the unlocked memory comments, which I love. I do love my Inhumanoids collection, and I don't have too much further to go to complete it. So this is Redwood. Strange name, I know. Or he's just one of the creatures called Redwoods. There's a lot of weird little subdivisions and alliances of creatures in the Inhumanoids line. With the exceptions of the 3 big bad guys, I think everybody else, like these 3, they're all good guys. But it gets a little confusing because his name is Granok, I think, but he and him are both Granites. Magnacore's his own guy. And I think both of these guys are Redwoods, but they have different names. I don't know if he's got a specific name. This guy is Redsun, and then there's also Redlin, who's a little bit darker, and he's the leader of these guys. And these guys are all called Mutors. If I sound like I know what I'm talking about, and you think you can trust what I say, don't be. I could very well be confused. Again, the subdivisions of creatures in the show, it's tough to follow, and I can't remember. All I know for sure is that this toy line remains my favorite of the taboo failed 80s properties. And I hope to get the one vehicle I'm missing, and the one Redwood I'm missing, and a few little accessories. Liquidator really needs his helmet. And welcome to the shelf.